The war between Earth and the Zylothian Empire had raged for decades. Billions had perished. Entire planets had been reduced to ash, and hope was a scarce commodity. As a lowly diplomat with no real power, I never imagined I'd play a role in ending the conflict. But fate, or perhaps sheer desperation, had other plans. It all started when the Zylothians proposed an unprecedented ceasefire. Their terms were simple: a political marriage between one of their royal family members and a human representative. The union would symbolize peace and unity between our species. I was chosen not because of my charm or diplomatic prowess, but because I was expendable. If the marriage failed, Earth's governments could easily disavow me. Princess Lyrissa of Zyloth was breathtakingly beautiful, with shimmering silver skin, luminous violet eyes, and an aura of regal authority. She was also terrifying. Her sharp, crystalline teeth and the faint glow of her bioluminescent markings reminded me that she was not human. When we first met, she regarded me with a mixture of curiosity and disdain, as though I were a peculiar insect she might crush underfoot. The wedding ceremony was a surreal affair, blending human traditions with Zylothian rituals. I stood in a ceremonial robe, sweating under the glare of alien spotlights, while Lyrissa recited vows in her melodic, otherworldly voice. I stumbled through my lines, acutely aware that billions of lives depended on this farce. When the ceremony ended, the war officially ceased. Cheers erupted across the galaxy, and I was hailed as a hero. But the real challenge began after the celebrations died down. Lyrissa and I were expected to live together on her flagship, the Eclipse of Dawn, a massive vessel that orbited a neutral planet. Our quarters were luxurious, filled with alien art and technology one couldn't begin to understand. At first, we maintained a polite distance. I assumed our marriage would be purely symbolic, a political arrangement with no emotional or physical intimacy. I was wrong. Lyrissa had other ideas. "You are my consort," she declared one evening, her voice firm. "You will accompany me to state functions, dine with me, and share my bed. This is not a request." I blinked, stunned. But this was supposed to be a fake marriage, a political gesture. Her eyes narrowed, and she stepped closer, her presence overwhelming. On Zyloth, marriage is sacred. It is a bond that cannot be broken. You agreed to this union, and now you will honor it. I tried to protest, but Lyrissa was relentless. She insisted on spending every waking moment together, dragging me to diplomatic meetings, cultural events, and even combat training sessions. She introduced me to her family, a collection of intimidating royals who scrutinized me like a lab specimen. I felt like a prisoner trapped in a gilded cage. As the weeks turned into months, something unexpected happened. I began to understand Lyrissa. Beneath her icy exterior, she was fiercely intelligent, deeply loyal, and surprisingly vulnerable. She confided in me about the pressures of her role, the weight of her responsibilities, and her fear of failure. In turn, I shared my own struggles, my loneliness, and my guilt over the lives lost in the war. We grew closer, and I found myself drawn to her in ways I hadn't anticipated. Her laughter was like music, her touch electric. She taught me about Zylothian culture, and I introduced her to Earth's history and art. Our conversations stretched late into the night, and I realized I was no longer pretending to care for her. I genuinely did. But as our bond deepened, so did Lyrissa's possessiveness. She became increasingly protective, refusing to let me out of her sight. When I suggested visiting Earth to see my family, she flatly refused. "You belong here now," she said, her tone brooking no argument. "Your place is with me." I tried to reason with her, but she was unmovable. Her love was all-consuming, and she expected the same from me. I felt suffocated, torn between my growing affection for her and my longing for freedom. One night, after a particularly heated argument, I made a desperate decision. I contacted an old friend from Earth, a pilot who owed me a favor. Together, we hatched a plan to smuggle me off the eclipse of dawn. It was risky, but I couldn't see any other way out. The escape went smoothly at first. I made it to the hangar where my friend's ship was waiting. But just as I was about to board, Lyrissa appeared, flanked by her guards. Her eyes burned with a mixture of anger and hurt. "Did you truly think you could leave me?" she asked, her voice trembling. "After everything we've shared?" I hesitated, guilt gnawing at me. "Lyrissa, I just need some space. I need to see my family, to remember who I am." She stepped closer, her expression softening. "You're my consort, my partner, my equal. If you need something, you only have to ask. But running away is not the answer." I looked into her eyes and saw the depth of her love, her fear of losing me. In that moment, I realized I couldn't leave. Not because she wouldn't let me, but because I didn't want to. We returned to our quarters, and for the first time, we truly talked. I told her about my fears, my need for independence, and she listened. To my surprise, she agreed to compromise. She arranged for my family to visit the eclipse of dawn and promised to give me more freedom. In return, I vowed to be honest with her and to never try to leave without discussing it first. Over time, our relationship evolved into something real and enduring. The fake marriage that had ended a war became a genuine partnership, built on trust, respect, and love. Lyrissa remained as fierce and possessive as ever, but she also learned to give me the space I needed. And I, in turn, embraced my role as her consort, finding purpose and fulfillment in our life together. The war was over, but our journey was just beginning. Together, we worked to bridge the gap between our species, fostering peace and understanding. And though our story began as a political ploy, it ended as something far greater, a love that transcended worlds.